Paraguay eliminated Germany from the World Cup on penalties. And that sentence alone explains why this game went down in history. It wasn't just an unexpected victory. It wasn't just a knockout upset. It was one of those matches that changes how the public understands football. Because for a long time, Germany was seen as an almost perfect team for high-pressure games. A cool-headed team, mentally strong, accustomed to high-pressure matches, and especially feared when the game went to penalties. But against Paraguay, that image crumbled. The game ended in a 1-1 draw. Paraguay opened the scoring with Julio Enciso. Germany equalized with Kai Havertz. After that, the match entered that zone where technique begins to share space with fatigue, fear, anxiety, and the ability to resist. In the end, the decision went to penalties. And there, where Germany almost always seemed to grow stronger, it was Paraguay who grew stronger. Paraguay fought 3 on penalties. Germany eliminated. This result is much more than just a qualification. It represents the breaking of a historical narrative. Germany, one of the most traditional teams in world football, fell precisely in the kind of situation where its jersey usually carried the most weight. For decades, the German national team built the image of a team that doesn't falter in crucial matches. In World Cups, this reputation became even stronger. When Germany reached penalties, many opponents already entered that shootout, feeling they were facing a machine. But football isn't about the past playing against the present. Football is about execution at the precise moment. And at that exact moment, Paraguay was colder. Germany entered the field as favorites. That was natural. They had more tradition, more historical weight, more international recognition, and a greater obligation to win. Even when Germany isn't at its best, it's still Germany. The jersey carries titles, finals, semi-finals, legendary generations, and a very strong sense of competitiveness. Paraguay entered the field with a different role. They didn't need to prove they were superior. They didn't need to play beautifully the entire time. They didn't need to dominate the ball to convince the statistics. Paraguay needed to understand the nature of the game, and they did. That was the central point of the match. Paraguay didn't play like a team desperate to please. They played like a team that knew exactly what they needed to do to survive. In a World Cup knockout stage, surviving can be more important than impressing. Many people watch a game focusing only on ball possession, shots on goal, and player names. But knockout matches have a deeper layer. There's the technical game, the tactical game, and the emotional game. Against Germany, Paraguay had to compete in all 3 dimensions. In terms of technical skill, Germany had more resources. In terms of tactics, Paraguay needed to close down spaces, defend with concentration, and prevent Germany from finding its rhythm. But in the emotional game, the scenario began to change as the minutes ticked by. And that's a detail that many people don't realize. When the favorite fails to finish the game early, the pressure starts to shift. Initially, the pressure was on Paraguay. Facing Germany in a World Cup knockout stage is a huge task. Any mistake can lead to a goal. Any moment of disorganization can decide the match. But after Paraguay opened the scoring, the atmosphere changed. Germany stopped playing just to win. They started playing to avoid a historic elimination. This changes the player's mindset. A misplaced pass feels more serious. A missed shot seems bigger. A wasted chance increases anxiety. The crowd starts to sense the danger. The opponent starts to believe, and the clock, which before seemed only to mark the time, becomes an enemy of the favorite. Julio Enciso's goal had that effect. It didn't just put Paraguay ahead. It created uncertainty within the German game. Germany responded with Kai Havertz, and that draw could have broken Paraguay. In many games like this, when the favorite draws, the underdog loses momentum. The team that was holding on starts to think they let the opportunity slip away. The atmosphere changes. The favorite grows stronger. The opponent retreats too much. A comeback seems like a matter of time. But Paraguay didn't fall into that trap. The German draw didn't emotionally destroy the Paraguayan team. On the contrary, Paraguay stayed in the game. They continued competing. They continued accepting the suffering. And that's one of the greatest qualities in knockout matches, knowing how to suffer without becoming disorganized. Suffering doesn't mean playing badly. In knockout football, suffering often means understanding that the opponent will have better moments. It means withstanding pressure without abandoning the plan. It means defending an area without losing concentration. It means accepting that you won't always control the ball, but you can still control spaces, duels, and decisions. That's what Paraguay did. Germany had possession at key moments. They tried to speed things up. They tried to push Paraguay back. They tried to translate their historical superiority into real superiority on the scoreboard. But having possession is one thing. Turning possession into qualification is another. This difference decides World Cups. Germany controlled parts of the game, but not its fate. And when OEU, favorite team, fails to translate dominance into a decisive advantage, it begins to face an invisible adversary, its own anxiety. Paraguay realized this. With each passing minute, without conceding a second goal, Paraguay felt more alive. Every defensive clearance seemed like a victory. Every ball cleared boosted their confidence. Every German mistake reinforced the idea that an upset was possible. This is the kind of detail that changes how you read a match. To an outsider, it might seem like Paraguay just held on. But in knockout matches, defending intelligently is a legitimate way to compete. The problem isn't defending. The problem is defending without a plan. And Paraguay had a plan. The Paraguayan team transformed the game into a contest of endurance. The more time passed, the more the emotional weight shifted from Paraguayan to German. Germany needed to win. Paraguay could survive. This psychological difference is enormous. And then came the penalties. Penalties are the cruelest moment in football because they reduce everything to a sequence of isolated decisions. The entire game is compressed into a few steps. The player places the ball on the spot. The goalkeeper waits. The stadium holds its breath. And for a few seconds, there is no tactical system, ball possession, tradition, or favoritism. There is only execution. That's why penalty shootouts are so fascinating and so brutal. It seems simple to those watching, but it's mentally heavy for those taking the shot. The distance to the goal is short, but the responsibility is enormous. The player isn't just hitting the ball. He's carrying a jersey, a fan base, a campaign, and often an entire generation. For Germany, this burden was even greater because the Germans carried a historical reputation in this type of dispute. Germany was seen as a team almost immune to the nerves of penalty shootouts. But reputation doesn't take penalties. History doesn't kick the ball. And tradition doesn't choose its corner. At that moment, the German players needed to execute, and they failed. Havertz lost. Woltemade lost. Jonathan Tah lost. 3 mistakes in a match of this magnitude are not just statistics. They are signs that the pressure got the better of the team. They are signs that the moment became too big, even for a team accustomed to great moments. On the other side, Paraguay found precision when it mattered most. José Canale converted the decisive penalty and put Paraguay in a historic position. It wasn't just the last penalty. It was the chance to eliminate one of the greatest national teams of all time. It was the chance to transform a difficult night into an eternal one. He scored. And when the ball went in, the story changed. Germany was out of the World Cup. Paraguay was still in the running. This result shows a truth that many people forget. In knockout rounds, being the favorite is only a starting point. It guarantees nothing. The favorite needs to confirm its superiority within the game. It needs to make better decisions. It needs to be efficient. It needs to bear the weight of being the favorite. When that doesn't happen, the underdog grows stronger. And Paraguay grew precisely in that space. It wasn't a victory built solely on luck. There was suffering, of course. There was German pressure, of course. There were moments when Germany seemed closer to victory, but Paraguay managed to take the game to a territory where the technical difference diminished and mental strength began to matter more. This is an essential aspect for understanding World Cup football. A knockout match doesn't necessarily reward whoever seems strongest on paper. It rewards whoever manages critical moments best, whoever understands when to accelerate, whoever knows when to hold back, whoever doesn't lose their composure when the game deviates from the ideal plan. Germany failed to translate its status as favorite into complete control. Paraguay, however, managed to turn its resistance into opportunity, and when the opportunity arose, he seized it. Now, the impact of this elimination goes beyond Germany. The whole dynamic changes. The entire interpretation of the tournament changes. The teams that are now looking at Paraguay don't just see a theoretically accessible opponent. They see a team that eliminated Germany in a penalty shootout. This changes perception. Before this game, many people might have considered Paraguay a dangerous but limited team. After this game, Paraguay earns a different kind of respect, because eliminating Germany doesn't just guarantee qualification. It gives confidence, it gives morale, it provides a narrative, it gives an emotional shield for the next challenge. And in the World Cup, confidence can change everything. A team that wins a game of this magnitude begins to believe differently. The players start to feel they can survive any scenario. The coaching staff gains arguments to reinforce the plan. The fans grow along with them. And the next opponent enters the field knowing that this team has already taken down a giant. This is the danger Paraguay faces going forward. He doesn't need to become a favorite to be dangerous. He needs to remain competitive, disciplined, and emotionally strong. After a victory like this, the team gains a public identity. The team that doesn't give up easily. And this type of opponent bothers any giant. For Germany, the analysis is harsher. This elimination exposes deep-seated problems. It's not enough to say it was bad luck in the penalty shootout. Penalties have emotional, technical, and psychological components. When a favorite team lets the game get to that point, it accepts entering a danger zone. Germany had time to avoid this scenario. They had the quality to find another way, but it didn't solve the problem. And when it doesn't resolve the issue, it becomes vulnerable. The question that remains is not just why Germany lost on penalties. The bigger question is why Germany allowed the game against Paraguay to go to penalties. That's the discussion that should cause the most concern, because top teams aren't just expected to compete. They're expected to be decisive. They're expected to finish games. They're expected to translate superiority into results. When that doesn't happen, the pressure mounts, and an elimination like this becomes a symbol of something bigger. Germany lost a match, but also lost a part of its aura. The aura that it would always find a solution. The aura that it would remain calm when everyone else was nervous. The aura that, in penalty shootouts, it was still Germany against the opponent's fear. This time, fear did not defeat Paraguay. And perhaps that's the strongest image of the game. Paraguay didn't go into the penalty shootout like a defeated team waiting for the end. They went in like a team that had already overcome the worst of the match and was still standing. That makes a difference. Those who survive, suffering often arrive at the final with less fear. Germany carried the obligation. Paraguay carried the opportunity. At the penalty spot, obligation weighs more heavily. This game also teaches something important to those who only follow football by name. The World Cup isn't a collection of strong squads. The World Cup is a tournament of contexts. Context changes the value of every play. An early goal can completely alter the emotional state of the match. A draw can destroy or strengthen a Unbeatable team. A mistake in a free kick can affect the next player. A well-executed save can be worth as much as a beautiful offensive play. The audience that understands these details watches the game in a different way. He doesn't just see an upset. He sees an emotional build-up. He sees a favorite losing psychological control. He sees an underdog gaining confidence minute by minute. He sees the weight of the clock. He sees the difference between dominance and efficiency. He sees how a match can slip from the hands of a great team without them immediately realizing it. That's what happened to Germany. The elimination didn't come out of nowhere. It was building gradually. First with Paraguay's goal, then with Germany's inability to turn the game around, then with Paraguay's resistance after the equalizer, then with the growing emotional weight, and finally with Paraguay's composure in the penalty shootout. When the final penalty went in, many people called it a surprise, but that surprise had been building since the moment Paraguay realized it could compete. And now the World Cup has a new story. Paraguay is no longer just a participant. It is a protagonist in one of the tournament's greatest nights. Germany is no longer just an eliminated favorite. It is the symbol of a fall that few expected to see in this way. This is the kind of game that stays in your memory because it challenges what the fans thought they knew. Germany was the team that would go to penalties. Paraguay was the underdog. Logic said one thing, the field said another. And when the field defies logic, a great World Cup story is born. Paraguay remains alive, emotionally stronger, and more respected. Germany returns home with difficult questions, inevitable demands, and an elimination that will be remembered for a long time. Because falling in a World Cup is already painful. Falling on penalties against an opponent that almost no one considered a favorite makes the pain even greater. But that's football. He doesn't protect giants. He doesn't guarantee finals for big teams. He doesn't respect predictions once the ball starts rolling. Germany had history. Paraguay had courage. Germany was the favorite. Paraguay put up a fight. Germany had a reputation for winning penalties. Paraguay showed composure in the decisive moment. And in the end, that's what was decided. One penalty kick, one night, one historic elimination. Now I want to know your opinion. Did Germany fall due to bad luck, pressure, or lack of mental strength? And can Paraguay turn this victory into an even greater World Cup campaign? Comment below, because this game deserves discussion. If you enjoyed this analysis, leave a like to support the video and subscribe to the channel to follow more stories, curiosities, and details that change the way you understand a football match.